Hello again, it is Dr. Jimmy, and as I do every April 1st, all secrets of Halloween Horror Nights 25 revealed! And this video is part 5 in this year's video sequence, which means if you have not yet done so, and I don't know why I have to tell everyone this, but I've noticed in years past, sometimes some of the later videos have more hits than the earlier ones, which means people are either watching the later ones over again, or they're watching more people are watching the later ones, and in other words, they aren't watching them all correctly in sequence. Don't do that. Watch them in sequence. You watch part 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, and then you watch part 5. Afterwards, watch part 6. If there is a part 6, and I hope there won't be, but there might be, because, you know, I get long-winded and I get distracted and I go off on tangents like I am right now. Oh yeah, so I better stop and get on with it then, shouldn't I? Alright, I've described 7 houses already, and I just started describing the 8th house of Halloween Horror Nights 25, Ghoul Britannia, the Silver Jubilee, which is what the event will be this year at Halloween Horror Nights 25. And the icon house featuring Union Jack the Clown is called Ghoul Britannia, and as I said in the previous video, a kaleidoscopic, brightly coloured fun house set in Britain with all sorts of silly set pieces of British pop culture turned upside down, with Jack the Clown, Union Jack the Clown, as the master of ceremonies, the presenter, so to speak, and in bright 3D effects. And in addition to Yoko Ono splitting up the Beatles with a chainsaw, there will be James Bond, a version of James Bond, Twisted in Evil, references to some of the scenes from those films. There'll be evil satanic Teletubbies, of course. There will be a scene set in the famous Wimbledon British tennis tournament, and a bit of a nod to a rather silly program that we enjoyed back in the 70s. You'll see a Scotsman playing tennis against a gigantic alien beast. Remember when the blancmange turned all the Englishmen into Scotsmen so they could win Wimbledon, except that now the best player in Britain is a Scotsman, Andy Murray, and so the Scotsman would look a bit like Andy, and the thing he's fighting, the alien who's trying to win Wimbledon, will be a horrific alien beast, not necessarily a giant pudding, but it is a bit of a reference to Monty Python. There's going to be check and see. Oh yes, there's going to be some other delightful stuff in there, all sorts of references, maybe to other children's programs like Blue Peter and what's the name of the fox with the brush? I forget the name of the fox, but other things like that might be in there. But there will also be some urban legends from Britain, and perhaps the American guests might not appreciate it, but British guests will get the joke, and it'll be quite funny for them. There'll be references to the notorious Purple Aki, an urban legend boogeyman that was supposed to be haunting gymnasiums to assault young men to try to feel their muscles. Very strange person who turned out to actually be a real person. Has recently been released from prison. I don't know if they can get away with that or not. Perhaps a twisted version of that. And of course, the notorious Beast of Bodmin Moor, a gigantic cat that haunts certain moors in Britain. It's always good to have an evil cat in there somewhere, I guess. So all of these sorts of things will be featured in that weird fun house of Britpop gone bad. There might be satanic versions of Simon Cowell, where the original one was satanic enough already. I don't know. Or other sorts of people in the Graham Norton, who knows what. It'll be quite twisted, I'm certain. All right. So, those are the 8 houses, or rather, the 8 ordinary houses, because there's another concept this year in which there'll be more than 8 houses. This is something they actually had planned before Comcast got a hold of them and made them Britify the event. Even before that, they had already come up with an idea that for the 25th anniversary, they would have additional houses, extreme houses, that would they be able to do things that they couldn't do in a regular house, involving characters that actually might grab you or touch you, that there might be abuse, verbal abuse, and possibly even nudity. Extreme houses which you would be able to attend only, not just signing waivers, mind you, if you pay an upcharge. Yes, for those guests who wish to experience extreme horror, there is an additional charge, and those guests only would get to go to the additional extreme houses after paying an upcharge. Oh dear, wouldn't you know, they find a way to get some more money out of you. But that's what they had planned even before they got the word from Comcast, and they've had to alter the houses a bit to make them fit in with the British thing. One of them is an IP. It's called Ghostwatch, and this might be a bit obscure to a lot of American fans, although they did find out there was a cult following even in the United States. For those who don't know, Ghostwatch was a Halloween special presented on the BBC back in the year 1992. It was a mockumentary, like those ghost hunting type programs and specials where psychic investigators go into allegedly haunted places to look for ghosts with night vision cameras and little spectre detectors or whatever the hell it is. Rarely ever find anything real. You might hear a bumper thump, or there might be some of that white noise voice phenomenon. Oh, did that sound like somebody said something scary, or was it just static? I don't know. That sort of crap. But they made fun of that, but with a real, rather horrible, sinister, demonic being called Mr. Pipes showing up in the film, and quite horrifying. But the thing is, a lot of people didn't realize they were watching a Halloween special mockumentary. They thought they were watching a legitimate documentary, and they thought this Pipes had actually come and started possessing actual BBC presenters, and that this was really happening, and it caused a lot of panic when it first aired, and there was so much controversy over this that the BBC banned any rebroadcast of this program. It would not be transmitted again for one entire decade. They banned it for a whole 10 years. Now, 2002 was a long time ago. That was 13 years ago. It still hasn't been rebroadcast on the BBC, but people have got bootleg copies of it, and you can stream it right now if you want. This place, in fact, you can go to my Tumblr blog. I have a post I made back in January, I think, where I included links to where you could watch the whole damn thing. You go back to my Tumblr posts and my Tumblr blog, The Amazing Dr. Jimmy and His Evil Cat Bob, and go to January, where I posted all sorts of British things, because I was hinting at what was coming, and you'll find somewhere in there, back in January, a post that has links to all 3 parts of Ghostwatch videos, and if it's still, that is, if the links are still good, and whoever the videos were originally put, whether it was YouTube or somewhere else, the videos are still up. I don't know, I haven't checked myself. But hopefully you can do it that way. Otherwise, you can still find somewhere online where you can stream and watch this, and you will enjoy it. Trust me, it's a marvelous presentation. And just think, when people first saw that back in '92, they thought it was real, and it caused them to freak out, panic and fear. And so it was a perfect thing for an extreme house to recreate all the more horrible scenes from Ghostwatch, but it will get in your face in a way they couldn't in a regular house. Furthermore, they want to include, as part of these extreme house experience, as part of the upcharge, various interactive game type activity, almost like Legendary Truth type stuff, as well. And so the stuff they used at Legendary Truth in the last week of the event in 2014, last year, those tablets where you could see things that weren't there, but suddenly you could see them with your tablet, with the seance and stuff. They'll be using that as well, and you can use that as part of the interactive Extreme House experience. So it'll be pulsed. It'll be a hell of a queue. Of course, not everyone wants to pay an upcharge, so they think that'll keep it down a bit. And also, if you pay an additional price, you can get a video featuring yourself being haunted by pipes that you can take home, a disc you can play on your own home video devices, your Blu-rays. So you can actually become a part of the event in a weird way. You can see yourself being stalked by the spectral pipes. So all of that is part of the plan for Ghostwatch. And the other Extreme House, so there really are 10 houses this year, or 11. We're going to take it to 11 like Spinal Tap, if you count the dual run thing in the other house. The 10th house is called Kitchen Inferno. Again, it's a sort of a mock on the originally British program, but also in America, called Hell's Kitchen, with Gordon Ramsay, except they didn't actually get the rights to do that. It's a parody in a way. So there's actually set in hell, where you've died and you're now in hell and you're going to be tortured for eternity by an evil British chef who's rather similar to Gordon Ramsay, who's going to grab you and he's going to curse at you and tell you, what the fuck is wrong with you? You can't, all the horrible, swearing and cursing and verbal abuse, and they'll grab you and take you to a kitchen and force you to prepare awful foodstuffs, in addition to scenes of gore and cannibalism and nasty things. Now, in the past, they have appealed to 4 of your senses in haunted houses at Universal Studios and Halloween Horror Nights. Sight, of course, and sound, but also your sense of touch, with all sorts of icky, sticky things getting in your face and putting Vaseline on something and that sort, and spraying with water sometimes. And then, of course, the 4th, sense of smell. Oh God, the nasty odors they've pumped into some of those houses over the years. But this year, for the first time, all 5 senses will come into play. In this house, Kitchen Inferno, you will have to make horrible foodstuffs and then you'll have to eat them. That's right, they're going to force you to eat some of the most horrible examples of British cuisine. Marmite, that nasty, yeasty stuff that tastes like puke. They're going to have to eat Marmite on toast, and you're going to have to eat jellied eels. Nom 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 nom. Kidney pies, not steak and kidney pies, mind you, just kidney pies. And then, of course, there's spotted dick, which actually tastes wonderful, but the thought of eating a dick will make some people, it's actually a pudding, but just the name kind of gets people. They can make it look a bit more like an actual penis, because this is an extreme house where they can be obscene if necessary, and they can also put stuff in that to make it taste less pleasant. And they're going to have other nasty things for you to eat and drink in the house that will taste just awful, make the actual British foods taste pleasant by comparison. Beans on toast, oh my God, it'll be quite horrifying. Yes. Yes, indeed. So, that is the 2 most extreme houses. There'll be an upcharge for that, of course, because after all, a meal was included, so you have to have an upcharge. Now, let's see. Those are the 10 haunted houses. I don't know where the houses will be located this year. I haven't been given that information. Obviously, quite a bit in sound stages, and most likely in the parade building and the sprung tents, and maybe they'll sprung a couple extra tents somewhere. I don't know. It's even conceivable that they might actually use portions of Islands of Adventure. They may not have the whole park open, but they might, for example, especially in one of the extreme houses, grab you, put a bag over your head, and cart you in a vehicle all the way over to the Carnage warehouse building where one of the houses might be located. That's a distinct possibility, but we'll see where the houses are when we get there. As it is now time to complete part 5, and I'll have to come back and describe the scare zones in part 6.